What's up everybody, Chris coming to you from Salty Island Gaming, and welcome back to our narrative campaign taking place in Warzone, Forge World Imperia. We have a different take on two armies that have participated in round 1, and on top of that, we are using the Planet Strike missions from the new campaign mission pack Containment. On the attacker side, the Space Wolves are back with a vengeance. Having suffered a defeat in round 1 at the hands of the Iron Warriors, they have yet to establish themselves on the planet's surface. Luckily for them, the new Planet Strike rules allow for all manner of deep strike shenanigans as they drop onto the battlefield by various means. This time, we have an all firstborn Space Wolf list, and on top of that, this entire army is quite literally from 3rd edition. All of the minis are still on their classic 25mm base, and every marine is a metal miniature. I think at some point there was a reason for this many marines to have power fists, but for now we are counting the marines with the chain swords as blood claws, and the squad with really big hands that are definitely not power fists to be grey hunters. Each squad allows us to bring a razorback, one with twin las cannon and the other with twin assault cannon. Finally, this force will be led by a firstborn lieutenant with the relic frost axe. He has the warlord trait hunter, which lets him advance and charge, perfect for today's mission. Part of the Planet Strike rules allow for anything in the attacker's army to be placed in reserve, and if they are in infantry, they can deep strike using standard rules. The trade is if they are held in reserve this way, there's a random table that's rolled on to see which turn they arrive on, very reminiscent of older editions, so this army should feel right at home. For the defenders, the Necrons awoke in the first round only to be beaten back down to sleep by the Admech. This time, the Necrons seek to retrieve the objective, one of the mysterious beacons that have been activating all over the surface of the planet, then get it safely back into their underground tombs. Hailing from the Sazerkan dynasty and led by an overlord with the Orb of Eternity relic and the Enduring Will warlord trait, this is an extremely resilient character that will be difficult to bring down. This time, the Necrons have brought 11 warriors, but in addition, they've offset the loss by bringing in a second troop choice in the form of 5 immortals. Finally, to further make certain that the Overlord survives, a unit of 5 Lich Guard with sword and shield rounds out this army. For those of you keeping track, both sides are playing at 500 points. Today's mission is an attacker-defender scenario. The beacon begins in the center of the table, and the defender also will place 3 objective markers anywhere in their deployment zone. The mission is simple: control territory and retrieve the relic, escape with it back to the defender's extraction zone. Planet Strike rules are in effect, including the attacker's ability to deep strike and the initial opening orbital bombardment. Scoring will work as follows: 5 points for controlling 1 objective marker, 5 more points for controlling 2 or more objective markers, and we are modifying this slightly as we have no bunkers, so 5 more points for controlling more than your opponent. Lastly, at the end of the game, the defenders will get 40 victory points if they reach their escape zone with the beacon. With the defenders failing to do that, the 40 points will go to the attackers. The battlefield surface is littered with ancient structures that have long sat dormant and quiet until recently. The Space Wolves have been maintaining a low orbit over Imperia, continuing to watch for signs of additional beacons, so when another one activated, they were ready to strike. Descending from the skies in Thunderhawk gunships, the Space Wolves deployed a rapid response force that could strike hard and then fall back with their objective without the need to get into a protracted battle. The Lieutenant and the Blood Claws were aboard the Assault Cannon Razorback, while the Las Cannon Razorback was there for support, and the Ruse, for it was empty. The Grey Hunter squad was remaining aboard the aircraft, ready to drop from the skies to the battlefield should the need for reinforcements present themselves. Their plan is simple: get in, secure the area, escape with the beacon. What the Space Wolves did not realize is the most recent beacon activated was almost directly on top of the hidden entrance to the Necrons' underground facilities. The Necron Overlord rolled his eyes in disbelief. Of all the beacons to activate next, this was the worst possible one for his situation. A brief glance around his sleeping chambers confirmed what he already knew. Few of the others had awakened to full functionality, and the warriors from the previous battle were still only partially reanimated. Luckily, he had just received notification that some immortals had awoken, and they would make a fine addition to his forces. Calling forth his Lich Guard, he gave the signal for his forces to ascend to the surface. They would need to grab the beacon, bring it back to the entrance so it could be taken underground away from the prying eyes and oily fingers of the Imperial usurpers. Before the start of the game, but after deployment, the Space Wolves have dropped onto the battlefield, and they could see that they were not the first ones there. However, this time they were prepared for such a thing to happen, and the old lieutenant began calling out coordinates to target for an orbital strike. Spacing out his blasts, he made sure to scatter them about the battlefield so no matter what, one of them would hit the Necrons. However, the Overlord was no fool to such tactics, and the Voss signal was easily intercepted and manipulated. A subtle smudge to the signal caused one of those coordinates to shift closer to the approaching Razorbacks, bringing a metallic chuckle to the Overlord as he watched to see if the Imperial dogs would fire upon their own forces unknowingly. 3 shots arced down from the heavens, the first landing almost directly on top of the Overlord himself, and would have dealt a killing blow of 5 mortal wounds had it not been for the Sazerkan auto-defense protocols put in place, giving a 5+ feel no pain against those mortal wounds. The other 2 shots dropped down on the warriors, 8 mortal wounds total, though the auto-defenses against those mortal wounds allowed 2 of them to be brushed off. And with that, the first turn, machine spirits of the Razorbacks roared to life as the 2 tanks split up around the large structure blocking their path, guns blazing though no noticeable damage being inflicted. On the Necrons' end, the Immortals shake the sands from their metallic undying bodies as they respond to the will of the Overlord. Completely ignoring the incoming fire, they back up and begin to retrieve the beacon from under the sands. The remaining Necron warriors march from around the ruins of the building, green gauze fire scratching the paint on the approaching Razorbacks and putting a point of damage, though nothing that would slow them down or reduce their firepower. Up top, the Overlord and his Lich Guard begin to advance from the top of the pyramid, the closing Space Wolves bringing a sense of urgency to their movements. Seeing the full force laid out before them, the Space Wolves spring their trap. Using the Planet Strike special rule, Shock Tactics, this allows the infantry to be able to deep strike from the use of the random arrival table, as the flyer swoops low, dropping off its payload of 5 Grey Hunters behind the Necron's battle line, effectively cutting off a line of retreat. In the front, the Bloodclaws and the Lieutenant disembark from the Razorback and advance up the table, looking to pin the Immortals in place so they can steal the objective. The Razorback's assault cannon roars, destroying one of the Immortals, but to the horror of the Space Wolves, they watch as it pulls itself back together, its green eyes shining as brightly as ever. From the rear and the flank, the Grey Hunters and the Las Cannon blaze away as battle is joined in earnest. Before the Immortals can begin a fighting retreat, the Lieutenant charges forward into combat. He is an ancient hunter of renowned skill, who's known for leading by example. His successful charge triggering his saga, showing his brothers how it's done so that they may follow suit in future. The Immortals though are ready, firing Overwatch as he charges in, but the old wolf is too swift, too cunning as he emerges from the green fire unscathed. His ancient frost axe swings in great arcs, and where his blows land, the Necrons do not reanimate, as 2 fall to the ground in shattered pieces. The Necrons strike back. For now, they hold the advantage of controlling more of the battlefield, as the protocol of the sudden storm is transmitted across the battlefield, signaling a fighting withdrawal. As the Immortals fall back from the Lieutenant, unable to fire, the remaining warriors activate long-dormant systems. A relentless onslaught of fire blasts into the old wolf. 10 shots, getting 13 hits and scoring 10 wounds. The power armor managing to absorb 5 of the shots before it disintegrates away, causing him to fall to the sands unconscious. The Overlord chuckles as his forces begin to surround him as they make their way back towards the escape. What could go wrong? Seeing their commander fall enrages the battle brothers of the Space Wolves. The audacity of these Xenos. Now is the time of the Space Wolves. Time for assault. The Wolves move up to control the battlefield space as they corral their quarry. The assault cannon opens fire onto the Immortals, bringing down the remaining 3 in one single burst so that no resurrection may take place. Then the beacon falls to the sands where they once stood. Bloodclaws and Grey Hunters both charge into the warriors, leaving no room for escape. The Space Wolves are savage in combat, the Bloodclaws doubly so for using Savage Strike. Chainsaws whirling with 16 attacks that now hit on 2s, any 6s giving extra hits. Their fury on the charge making their chainswords bite all the harder for AP 2. Their anger making them stronger with +1 to wound, and any wounds on a 6 give an additional +1 to the AP. There's no doubt of what will happen next. With 14 wounds, the Necron warriors are ground into the sands. And with a savage gleam in their eyes, the greatest hunters in all of the Imperium turn and look to the Overlord, whose cold dead gaze begins to glow a sickly green. The Overlord points at the Space Marines with his scythe, and for the first time in a millennia, speaks out loud.
My will be done.
The Lich Guard move forward to shield their master from harm as he calmly walks over to the remains of the Immortals. Kicking a few pieces to the side, he picks up the beacon in one hand before turning his back to the battlefield. The Lich Guard enacts Eternal Protectors. When in such close proximity to their master, their limits are released as they charge into combat with the Space Marines. They split up their attacks, 8 going towards the Bloodclaws, 12 to the Grey Hunters. They hit on 2s and wound on 3s. 7 wounds onto the Bloodclaws and 8 onto the Grey Hunters, their phase swords shimmering in and out of reality, all but negating any form of armor protection. The few remaining Space Wolves mount their attacks back, but the disbursement shields are also technology from an ancient time. 4+ invulnerable saves, making any benefit to their attacks almost a joke, as all wounds are brushed aside. But the Space Wolves will not be cowed. The last Grey Hunter pack leader orders the survivor to stand with insane bravery and do what they can to fight on. The Overlord turns as he begins to ascend the pyramid, looking back over the carnage of the battlefield. Any resistance is futile. Too little, too late, as he and his Lich Guard walk back towards their exit. The Lich Guard form a wall, preventing any attacks from even having the honor of targeting their master, and the dispersion shields make a mockery of any attack that seeks to bring them low. He has no words for the dogs of the Imperium as they are not worthy to hear anymore. He has his prize. The remaining Grey Hunters can only stand and watch, seething with barely restrained anger and hate as both prey and prize reach the top of the pyramid. Then, through the most heretical of technology, the air shimmers in the fading light, and then they vanish, leaving them to collect their fallen and lick their wounds in defeat. Thank you for checking out this battle report. We hope that you've enjoyed this more narrative style, and if you did or did not, do let me know down in the comments below. We want to try and give people something different than what's out there, and so you have a reason to keep coming back for more content. If you do like this, do consider hitting the like button, and maybe even the subscribe button. The channel continues to grow, and we now have 2 companies of the Salty Legion, and honestly we could not be more flattered. One last announcement is that as we all begin to heal and get back out into the world, we're going to be working with War Room Games in Las Vegas to try and bring you even more hobby content. This isn't any sponsorship or anything like that, but we want to help support the community and showcase all the events that we can in Las Vegas, including we're going to start doing community battle reports. So if you are in the Las Vegas area, you've got 500 points of 40k or even Age of Sigmar, let us know, as we will soon be filming battle reports at the new game shop location, so we can bring you even more beautiful armies and people who actually know how to play these armies well. So thank you everyone, we truly mean it, because we only do this because of people like you who actually take the time to watch this. So thank you, stay safe, and peace out.